Hi there, I'm Anna from Astral Hygiene. Today we're going to be talking about the perception of smell and how the perception of smell impacts on how people feel about your establishment and feel about your washrooms in particular within your establishment. So this video is really pertinent for those establishments who want to create a nice customer experience within their washrooms. And I know that sounds a bit odd to people, but for example, if I am in an eatery and the toilets aren't up to my standard, I will often walk out. It's something that I feel really strongly about. So today we're going to be looking at some research. So we all know that having to endure bad smells in washrooms is not great. And it's an area that I personally will avoid if there is a bad smell. So some time ago, a psychologist, David Pizarro, ran an experiment whereby he was on the streets of New York and he emulated the smell of human flatulence. And he actually invited passers-by to smell the human flatulence to see how they reacted. And the overall reaction to the smell of human flatulence was disgust, which is probably no surprise to anybody. And he was really struck by how universal the disgust was across the kind of the population that he pooled for his research. So obviously before humans had any knowledge or understanding of disease, the feeling of disgust prevented contagion by making us kind of shy away from any biologically harmful things like vomit, feces and rotting meat. So this emotion, the emotion of disgust, is a potent trigger for a lot of human behaviour, which is understandable because it, over the years has prevented us from getting ill and from illness and death. However, because we are now in a kind of super social, highly populated, living in confined spaces and really close together, the disgust isn't always a response to something physical now. It's often a response to smell. And I think that's something that we really need to acknowledge and try to understand. And public bathrooms have become a real hotspot for the build-up of malodors, and it's something that I personally think about every time I go into a public bathroom. Is it going to smell? What's it going to be like in there? And I almost dread it when I'm walking in. So let's explore some research that has been done on malodors in public bathrooms. So to investigate the necessity for washroom management and washroom hygiene, we need to understand and have an insight into the emotional responses that people exhibit when they walk into a public bathroom. So some research has been done which investigated the impact of scent and the associated emotional responses that those scents have triggered. So a physiological impact of washroom hygiene has been conducted, and it focused on the science behind people's reactions and how people feel, and it focused on the extent to which different public washroom elements impacted people's behaviours on an unconscious level. So this research basically assessed their emotional impact, and it tracked their eye movements as well to see where they were looking. So this is quite an interesting piece of research. So it involved 48 participants, and they were recruited and asked to walk around a bad smelling bathroom or a pleasant smelling bathroom. And within the study, the variables included cubicles which ranged from a clean cubicle to a cubicle with unflushed feces and overflowing sanitary bins. So very, very different kind of variables there. And the results found that 40% increase in emotional impact when people were faced with a bad versus a good smell. That smell alone. This was present across all cubicle conditions, even a cubicle that appeared clean and hygienic. Bad smell amplified the physiological reactions to visual signs of poor hygiene, with people having a 39% increase in emotional impact, so an overall obvious emotional response, when they encountered an overflowing sanitary bin, compared to a clean cubicle, and 28% higher emotional impact when they encountered paper on the floor or the toilet seat up. So these small things, which aren't necessarily due to actual washroom hygiene, so paper on the floor or the toilet seat being up, is a real kind of trigger for an emotional response, and for the washroom experience to be not as pleasant as it could be. So interestingly, eye tracking showed, so movement of the eyes and assessment of where the eyes were moving, showed that 91%, so almost all of them, looked around to detect the source of poor hygiene when they encountered a bad smell. So they're looking for the smell, or the source of the smell. The search for the source of bad smell allowed other elements of the washroom to be questioned and criticised, thus allowing participants to take in their full surroundings, leading them to identify whether any other unsavoury elements within their surroundings. From a physiological perspective, this is really interesting, as it means our sense of smell can unconsciously impact what we see or what we think we're going to see, and it leads us to look around to see if anywhere else is a contaminant, or if there's any other pieces of information that should be acknowledged by the user of the washroom. So really interesting. So, it has been undisputed that multisensory perceptions have been known to influence our behaviour and feelings. One only has to have a look at the world of scent marketing and retail interiors to understand this. But disgust is a more potent emotion and far more reactive. As a result, businesses should be paying attention to good air solutions and overall good hygiene in order to attract and keep their customers happy. So what does that actually mean? So it means, and let's kind of delve a bit further into what this means for the user. So it's clear that consumers will go to lengths to avoid contact with germs in public washrooms, particularly now. For some it means not touching things directly. I know a few people who won't touch things directly in a public bathroom. Previous survey found that 34% of consumers avoid touching things in washrooms. For others it means avoiding the establishments altogether. That would be me, if at all possible. And some individuals won't use hand dryers in public restrooms for fear of germs. That's me as well. I won't use a hand dryer. And that's because hand dryers suck in the air, potentially with fecal matter in it, heat it up, let the bacteria multiply, and then spew it out onto your hands. No thanks, I'd rather just walk out with wet hands. We live in a world where word of mouth and online reviews can strengthen or tarnish a business. So a simple tweet or an online review can really damage your business. So it's really important that you make sure that the washroom experience is a good experience. So checking the toilets hourly, making sure that all of the paper on the floor is being picked up, making sure there's no kind of unflushed organic matter in the toilets, making sure that your sanitary bins have been emptied, making sure that the bad smell has been mitigated. So you can do all this with, high perfume products like Clean Fast, which has got a really nice orangey, citrusy smell, which will kind of burst through the malodor. Air fresheners that will go off in intervals, which we sell here. I'll pop them down in the link in the comments below. So there are kind of things that you can be doing. But I think a physical presence in the toilets every hour to make sure that there's nothing unsavoury and untoward and undesirable going on in there. So it stands to reason that customers avoid returning to establishments, yes, that they don't feel meet their criteria. Previous research found that 62% of respondents would leave or not return to a business with dirty smell in washrooms. Now I've got a story. I was in a place in the city of Edinburgh a little while ago. We went in, asked for a table for 3, sat down, myself and my daughter went to the toilet before we ordered any drinks. We came back from the toilet and I said to you and my husband, we're going. And he's like, toilet's not good? And I was like, no, the toilets are not good. So, and for me, the toilet hygiene or the washroom hygiene is a real indication of the overall hygiene across the business. Is it clean? Is it not clean? Every area should be clean and sanitary. If the toilets aren't clean, then for me, then that's an indication that they don't regard hygiene very highly in this establishment, so I was out of there. So yeah, air care is important, sanitisation is important, picking up the paper off the floor is important, cleaning the corners of the rooms are important. So all of this is really important, and it's really important in terms of making sure that everybody who goes into your washrooms has a pleasant experience, because that is an overall part of their experience within your establishment. And I think that's something that's been overlooked, but it needs to be addressed. So yeah, so we're addressing it here today. You can catch my blog. It's on our website underneath the blog section, where all of this information is written down for you to refer to. I see somebody is putting some products in the comments that I've referred to. Thank you very much for that. Please do follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, thanks so much.